How's it going, everyone? So today's video, I want to talk about something that I've mentioned before in the other videos, but maybe you're new to the channel or maybe you didn't catch it in one of the other videos. And what that is, you can probably tell from the title, is on the rear axle position on these 4th gen Ram 1500s when you lower them. So being the 09 to 18 Ram 1500s with the independent rear suspension, when you lower them, the rear axle goes out of alignment, both in a few ways. It will go, left to right, so passenger to driver side, it'll go out of whack if you don't get the bracket to adjust your track bar. So that's one aspect, but usually people correct that one. That one's not so much the issue, but the one that is the issue is the way the wheel is positioned from the front to the back of the wheel, or in the wheel well, like in this example here with the Viper, this gap here would be different in the front versus over here on the other side. So that gap in between the wheel well is, it's actually smaller in the front on the truck and bigger in the back going towards the rear bumper. So a lot of people want to correct that, both for aesthetics, visually appealing, but at the same time, there has been lots of reports of people having violent wobbling or shaking type action going on in the back. And in order to alleviate that, because we did put the Beltec 2.4 kit on the Ram 1500 Hell Ram project, so we lowered the front 2 inches and we lowered the rear 4 inches, which is a standard Beltec kit that most of you guys are familiar with. So I also, under the recommendation of a lot of people and just from what I read online, I went ahead and got the Illicit No Cut Bracket kit, which is supposed to reposition the rear axle. So what it does is it accommodates for the change in geometry when you lower the vehicle, and it sits in between your upper and lower control arm and the axle. It's these additional brackets that rotate the axle back into its proper geometry. So I got those brackets, and the promise that I made to you guys before that I wasn't going to put them on if I didn't have to, because I wanted to get down to the bottom of this and see if there was a way that you could just lower the truck with some springs and get away with it. So last weekend, being Saturday, when we went to the track, I've proved kind of a theory that I had, and I've talked to some other people who have gotten away with it, and that is putting upgraded shocks in the rear, and that is going to solve the issue. So what we ended up doing, and I talked to some people in the know, and we put QA1 adjustable rear shocks. We put adjustable QA1 shocks in the rear. They're not struts, but shocks in the rear. And when we put those back there, it basically stiffens up the rear end and gets rid of that kind of shimmy. So for those of you that don't know, you kind of get like this action of the rear axle doing this, like each side is going up and down, and it kind of starts making the whole back of the truck go like this, and it gets pretty violent where it can actually it feels like the back end is going to come out. So I ran those shocks and I was running them on the street and they seemed okay at just normal highway speeds and whatnot, but I never really put them through their pace. And then when we ran the quarter mile finally, that's when we could really see, because I ran an 1/8 mile before, which was around 90 miles an hour, and it seemed okay there. But when we ran the quarter, we were doing upwards of 115 miles an hour by the time we were going through the traps at the end, and it was still going dead straight. It might have even been more than 115, but I mean, we were gunning it and going through the traps, we were clocking like 112 miles an hour. So I think there was still a little bit of acceleration after that. But that's coming from the tracks, speed measuring device, whatever they have. So it's pretty accurate, and we weren't getting any shaking. So I wanted to share that with you guys, that if maybe you're on a budget, I'm not saying to cut corners necessarily, but if you're on the fence about spending, it's something crazy. I think it's almost $500 for those brackets. If you're on the fence, you can get away with putting the QA1 rear struts in there, and it'll get rid of most of the wobble. I say most of it because I feel like there's still kind of certain situations when the road contour changes a little bit. And like I said, I'm just going to shoot it to you guys straight. I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat it. But when I was driving it today, because I've been daily commuting it just now, And when the road seems to go like this, like there's this kind of rhythmic sway to the road, the truck can kind of get into a little groove where it wants to sit there and dance with it. Because I felt it today a little bit, but not like anything too crazy. So I still have a lot of adjustments on the clickers to actually stiffen the rear up. I'm running them pretty soft right now. And I think if I crank them even stiffer or tighter, it probably would go away entirely, to be honest. But I'm running them a bit softer just for some comfort, and that's the exact same setting that I was running at the track. I haven't touched it. So I wanted to share that with you guys so that you guys can decide for yourself. One caveat to that whole thing is those QA1 rear shocks are not cheap either. I don't know exactly what the price, retail is. I think they might be around 200 bucks a piece or so. So they're not cheap, but they do work because I think they're right here actually. I had a stock shock. I can't even fit it all in one picture. Let me stand up. I had the stock shocks in there at first when we dropped it, and that didn't seem to do much. And then I also had these Beltec ones, these street performance ones, which are a little bit shorter. Hopefully you guys can see. So they're a little bit shorter by a couple inches. And they're supposed to be a little bit stiffer, I believe, in theory. This thing's upside down, but whatever, you guys get the idea. So it's a little bit shorter, but they still weren't fixing the issue. I still had, I got that crazy dancing routine happening in the back when I was running these street performance ones. So these are no go. So I would honestly just save money on the front. So here's the way I would do it if I were to recommend it again. I would save money on the front, just get the Beltec spring kit, and go ahead and pick up yourself a set of better shocks. Try out those QA1s. I know some guys are running some Viking shocks. I would go ahead and run those. And like I said, save some money by not purchasing the really expensive Beltec kit that comes with these, because they're not a solution in my opinion. And then get the QA1s or maybe some Viking or some other brand of that nature. So and one other thing I just want to mention too is you do have to and should replace the struts with a different version. Struts, why do I keep calling them struts? Shocks. So you want to replace them with a shorter version. Reason being is, see how much shorter this is? That accommodates for some of the ride height that you're chopping out. So what happens is if you run these big long ones, it'll actually, these kind of limit the length that the axle can drop. They help hold the axle in place. If you run these big ones, you could risk dropping a spring. Like if you went over a huge bump and like the back tires almost came off the ground, if you're running these big long shocks, they're not gonna limit the travel of your axle. And if your axle drops out too much away from the frame, your spring could potentially fly out if you have shortened springs like a Beltec spring. So just keep that in mind if you guys end up doing something like that. I'll update you guys a little bit more on what's going on. So sure, you guys probably could tell from the last video, if you guys caught the little kind of text that was at the bottom of the video. So Hellram build is complete. I'm gonna be doing kind of a montage video of just the whole truck right before I completely start dismantling it. And I'm gonna have we're gonna document the process of putting it back to stock. So that'll be cool. I won't leave you guys in the dark on that one either. But we've kind of already started taking some measures to doing that. I got right here, I'll show you guys. I've already got the slicks off of the 17s. So these tires have already been taken off the rims. So it's happening, you guys. And it's gonna be exciting. I know some people are a little bit maybe bummed out about it, but honestly, it's changes for the better, for the good. If we were ever gonna get into a fast truck build, I'd wanna start off with a base model truck or a lighter truck before we start trying to make the thing go crazy. But you guys, like I said, thanks again for the support on everything. And that truck was a heavy truck. It was a fully optioned sport model. So the fact that we went as fast as we did, at 12.1 second in the quarter mile with that truck, is pretty impressive. And I also want to talk about some other stuff too, but I'll talk about it in a separate video about just what some of those times mean. Because if you look at the DA on the day that we were running, it was not, ideal. So if you calculated for the DA, we were actually pretty much in our 11s that we wanted to be. But we'll save that for another video. As always, guys, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, be sure to drop a question in the comments below on this whole, lowering kit debacle. If you have any questions or concerns, or maybe I didn't answer something in this video, make sure to ask below and I can do a follow-up video, or maybe I can answer your question in the comments below. But I kind of want to just bring some information on, because I know a lot of people want to lower their truck, but they're scared about the whole issue on the axle and stuff. So like I said, I still have the listed no-cut brackets. They're in the box there, and I didn't use them. I went more than fast enough in that truck. I don't know how much faster you'd really want to go. Honestly, driving that big heavy thing that fast is a little bit freaky in itself. So I don't know, unless somebody's trying to do some high speed, land record or something. But just in the corridor, I mean, we were flying and it wasn't shaking. So anyways, you guys, if you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a big thumbs up for me. Check out the other content on the channel if you're stopping in for the first time, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.